So today we'll go through measures, um, creating a race, getting started with um, having the ability for racers to add racers, adding the header information, loading racers' information either from a registration file or from a points file, and then loading the information to Detris, getting the race, getting the times back, loading those in, doing the points calculation, printing off all your reports, and creating the XML files for your output system. So let me switch over to here. So if you have never gone to our website, which most of you should have as you saw the sign up, if you are looking for our software downloads, they're at the bottom of our homepage. So measures, you can just click download and it will install the latest and greatest version. As well, our software provides automatic update checks. So if you are out of date, it will give you a little notification and download the latest version to your computer. So if I go to measures, so we see that I have a dongle and the version. Our dongles look like one of these. You should see them. Each one of you should have one. If you don't, let me know and we can sort something out to get one to you with the whole Canada Postal Strike. But when we have measures open, your first thing that you'll want to do is create a file. So we go File, create a new race file. And so the suggestion is that every race that you do should have should be in its separate folder. So if you are doing 2 races in a day, so like a U12 male and female, each one should be in its separate folders because there are a lot of files associated with each, and to keep them separate from each other, that's usually the best way. So if I go to, I've already created this folder for our testing purposes. The only thing that Measures doesn't like in its names is dots. So you can just, I'll just call this 2024 12/10 for the date. So I can click save. So then it asks, is this a para event? So that if you are running a para event, you can check this and then you can put in all the different factors for each category of racer. But this isn't, so we'll say we won't check it. We'll hit OK. So do we want to copy race information from an old race file? So what this allows you to do is if you are running, let's say, 2 races at the same time, you can fill out the first one, put in the header information, the course setters, the forerunners, all that, and then copy that to the second one so you don't have to double enter it into both files. This is also, we also allow for racers to be copied over. So if you are doing like a series of races, you can copy all of the data from day 1 to day 2 to day 3 so that you don't have to recreate each file. It was asked a couple seasons ago that we actually allow for the bibs to be kept as well. So if you are doing like spring series and the racers keep their bibs for the entire series, then it's easy for people just to keep that bib moving forward. But I'm going to say no so that we can see all the information we need to add. So measures has a bunch of tabs at the top. Each one of these tabs is sort of you go from left to right to get the race completed. So we can go into headers. So this is all your basic information about the race. So race titles. So you've got 5 lines for race titles, and I'm sure that there would be communication about what information would be wanted in each title line, so that they have all of your sponsors have the correct attribution for each person. Then we can go down to discipline. So discipline is the type of race you're running, whether that's GS, Super G, slalom, Kinderkombi. So I can type SL for slalom. It defaults to S, which is another way of putting for slalom. If you have any questions during any of this, we have down here F9 for help. So you can hit F9, you can just click on the button, and it will tell you what information is there. So for your races, if you are running a race that is put onto Alpine points, it will always be Nat. FIS is if you are running a FIS race, and series is actually if you are running like a World Cup race where they are being scored in series points. So I'm just going to say national, and then which gender do you want? So my data is for female. Race, date, and location. So this is the 10th of December. And then we just put in our footers, we hit save, and that one's done. So now we can go into jury and technical data. So if you have a TD candidate at a race, you can check this to add a TD candidate. If you don't, and also if you want to measure your vertical in feet, you can check this. So the format for these is first initial, and then last name. You can do parentheses for the their club or their nation, and then if that their Alpine official ID, you can do a hyphen and put in their official ID. So that allows for all of the information to be captured for each one of these. So, and each one of these, so you've got your TD, chief of race, referee, chief of course, start, finish, RA, which will very probably be your name, and then the chief of timing. Name of course, you can put in a name, and then we can put in start elevation, so that'll be 500. Well, that's only if we're not in Canada. And then finish elevation, we can say like 120, and it'll automatically calculate what the vertical drop is so that you don't have to do the math. Homologation, we can either put NA, or if the course actually has an homologation number, you can put it in. And then the codex. So this is the codex that Alpine Points has provided to you. So for a national race, it'll be Nat or Rec, and then the season, so 24, and then 4 digits. 9 times out of 10, the first digit, 0 is male and 5 is female, but it doesn't always work out that way. I'm just going to put 4 9s just because I don't have a codex number. The next one is course setters and forerunners. So these are your course setter for first run, and then we'll do the same for second run, and then the forerunners. So these are the racers that go before the race that are not actually in the race, but to test the course and test the timing. So, and so the next part is the number of gates and the number of turns. So if you have, it'll be something that you can get from the course setter, is how many gates are in the course. So it'll be, we'll say 22, and how many turns. The number of turns can't be greater than the number of gates, but it can be less. So you can say, okay, it's going to be 20 turns. And then start time, so this will be 9 a.m. And then we can go to here. We'll do 22 gates and 22 turns. And this is in 24-hour time. So we'll start at 1 o'clock, so 1300. And we can hit save. And then weather and snow. So this part of the calculations, once you are done your race, is to provide points for the racers. And one of the factors is it's called an F factor. And we double check these every year just to make sure that they're all correct. But we allow you to edit this if need be, if there is some issue with the current value that is provided. But if you have set the right discipline in the first step, then this value is going to be correct. So then you can add weather conditions. So it's very foggy where I am. And then snow is soft, and temperature at top, and then temperature at bottom. We'll just say 4. We can hit save. So that's all of your header information. So that's all sort of stuff that can be sorted out most of it can be sorted out before the race starts. The next part is getting your racers into the race. And how we do that is we can go to Alpine Points. So this is where you can get your points list. For your system. So these are all the points lists for this season. We'll come back to this. But if we go to events, and if I go back to a race, there we go. You can download entry files from each race. So if we click on entry download, you'll want to pick the measures format. So this is specific for our measures system. So I can download this one. I'm not going to use this one. I already have my own that I've already got. But that's each one of your races. The easiest way to pull your race data is to grab the measures file as the race entry for the race entry. So once you have downloaded your race entry file, you click add racers to race. And you say, do you want to add from a points file? Yes, I do. And I have my race entry file that I had before. So I'll grab this one. And I'll say, do you want to calculate category? So this is only used if there is, if you're using a really old list for creating your race. If not, we say that, we normally answer no to this. So we'll say no. and then you say get names from your pick list. And these are all of the racers that were added in that racer entry file. So I can say select all racers, and I can say select, and then exit, and it'll say selection is about to add these racers to file, continue, and now we have all those racers. So then I can say exit, and now we have our racers. So I can then go draw. So this allows for you to now assign the bibs and the start positions for each racer and get the information that you for the start list, for the initial start list. So if you want, you can manually go through and assign a racer a manual bib and a manual start position, but mostly we do the automatic start positions. So this one's a little tricky, but it makes sense once it's sort of understood. So what this does is it calculates how many racers should be randomly selected, and then does the calculation. So we hit continue. So usually what happens is you have enter the number of racers in the top seed. So your top seed is usually 10 to 15 racers, and you can type that in, and then that will randomly assign the top 15 racers that you have in your race, and make sure that they're randomly sorted. And then everyone else in your race is sorted by points. If you want everyone to be random, it tells you to type in 53, which is the total number of racers within the race. And then if you want to assign everyone by seed points, you just say that the first racer is random, which means that he'll always get the same spot because there's only one racer. So I'm just going to say 15. And then this just gives you a confirmation saying you want to calculate the top seed with 15 racers. Yes. So this allows you to pick the first bib. So position 1 can be bib 1, or it could be 101, depending on how your bib selection is and how many bibs you have. Like I've seen where people have bib 1 to 50 is the females, and then 51 to 100 is the males. So this allows you to pick what the starting bib is for your racers. And then so if you don't have a bib, let's say you don't have bib 12, you can say, yes, I want to skip a bib and type in 12 so that it doesn't use that bib. But most of the time we just say no. And then do we want to calculate these top 15? Yes. And do we want to draw the racers with matching seed points? So the other part to this is that if you have racers that have not raced before and have no points, so points of 999, then you can say yes to this, and those will be randomly shuffled so that they get a little bit of a chance to be a little bit higher than the others. So we'll say yes. And then do you want to print the results? Yep. So this shows you how the top 15 were, the points, what their draw was, and what their bib is. And then we also did this for the matching seed points of 999. So we've now done racers, we've assigned racers bibs and start positions. If I click down here on view racers, we can see the racers' names, their bib, and their start positions. I need another racer for my race. That's just the way it is. So I'll show you how to do a late insert. So if I go back to Alpine Points, and you would need to pick the point list that is within the range, the valid from and valid to, for the race that you are running. So this is valid until today, so I already have this one downloaded. So I will say I want to add a racer to a race, and I will pick from the NAT 2505 points list. No, I don't want to calculate category. So this is every racer that has already registered in Canada. So the list is a little long. But what this does is this filters out saying I only want females because this is a female race. So I can say I want club, and I can say alpine, and that'll select all the alpines. So I don't want that, but I can scroll down and I can pick a racer. So I'm just going to pick a racer at random, grab that racer, hit exit. I want to add them. So now I have another racer that doesn't have a bib or a start position. So if I now go to draw, I can say late insert or insert late entry. Sort racers by name, yes. So you can see which one doesn't have one because it does not have a bib or a start position. So I'll double click on the racer, and I need to give this bib 54. Start position, if you are doing a late insert, almost always you do not the last racer. So they're always the second last racer that is inserted. But I'm just going to do last racer for this example. So then I'll say exit, exit. So now if I look here and I scroll down, I have a bib 54. So now we're ready to race, but we need to tell everyone who's running in what order. So if we go to reports, we can say run one start list. These are all sort of additions that you can do to the race. So if you want to include a race, their categories or their birth year, you can do that. I'm just going to say no. I'm going to hit OK. Do you want to print it inverted? So that actually flips it. And 9 times out of 10, you don't want to show an inverted start list. Snow seeds. So this isn't something that is really used on lower level races, but when you're looking at like downhills and super Gs, there are snow seeds, which is a group of racers that are go first to sort of clear away some snow. So you can either flag them or not. Normally I just say no. And then view compressed. So this can either be like 3 pages or it can be 1 and a bit. So we'll say yes so that we can serve paper. And you have the position, bib, racer, and club. And it'll do 2 columns if you have enough racers. And then we'll click exit. So you can print that from there either to PDF or to your direct printer and then start handing them out. Now the race is being run. And once run 1, depending on your timer, you will have to provide, or what we ask from timers is that you provide the RCR file to the timer. So that provides all of the racer information so that they can load it into Detris. And that allows for them to run their race a lot easier and have the racers' names and information on display boards as well as the live timing site. And then Once they are done, either depending on the timer or the race, that you'll either get one or two what we call DAT files, and these will have the race data. So it's the bib, the race date, the time, and whether they DNF'd or DSQ'd within the race. So those will be USB emailed to you from the timer. Then we can go into times, and I can say load Dietrich formatted runtime. So I'm going to pick my run 2 DAT. So my timer only gave me one. So I'm going to say, do I want to update run 1 or run 2? So I only want to do run 1 right now. Do you want to update run 2 from this run 2, or run 1 from this run 2 file? Yes. And then this does a little check. It says your computer's date is December 10th, but this race was run January 22nd. So this is just a check to make sure that your system you're loading the right file. I'm using an old one, that's why this is coming up. But if this shows up during your day of race, it's a little notice to say, hey, you might be loading the incorrect file 4 times. So I'm going to say load. Now what this does, Dietrich sometimes your timers will automatically put in the DSQs before they send it to you. Sometimes you'll have to do that yourself. In this case, they've actually added the DSQs, but it doesn't come with what gate the racer DSQ'd. So you'll have to go through the gate cards or the DSQ report and say, okay, bib 28 DSQ'd on gate 12, 31 DSQ'd on gate 2, and 35 DSQ'd on gate 4. So now if I go to view racers at the bottom, we have the times, the statuses if they did not start or did not finish, and then the gate. If you are going into a race and they haven't done the DSQs, you can go into racers. We can say manually input run times. In times, input time 1. And then I can say bib 3. Well, they did not. I can change the status to DSQ, and I can say they DSQ'd on gate 4. And then I can click save, and that automatically DSQs racer 3. So we finished run 1. We need to print run 2 start list. So we can say print run 2. So this allows for 3 different orders. The normal run 2 start order is the finish order with a number of racers at the front inverted. So if you invert 15, the 15th racer goes first, and the racer who got the best time goes 15th. And then everyone else is ordered by their finish time. You can also just say that I want to run the exact same race, so the same start order as run 1, or you can invert it and say I want to do the opposite. So whoever was last starts first, and whoever was first starts last. So I'm just going to say a normal run 2 start order. Then this asks if you want to add disqualifications, did not finishes, and not permitted to starts to the end of the race. So there are some categories and some race types that they just want everybody to have 2 runs. There are some that if you don't finish your first run, you don't get a second run. So that's just something that you'd need to know from the category of the race and the level of race that you're running. So I'm just going to say no to this. Has the jury reduced the number of racers to allowed to run in the second run? So this is if you are running a big FIS race, sometimes they limit the number of racers in the second run, but we will just say no because we want everyone to have our second run. So how many racers do we want to reverse? So this is what I was talking about. The 15 goes first, and then the 1 goes 15th. So I'm just going to say 15. Is this the correct number? Yes. I'll view the compressed. And we've got the bib and the position for each racer. So we have the second run start list. I can go into times. I can load the times from the timer, or from the output from the timer that they have provided. So I'll just say that I want to update run 2. Yes, I still want to load even though it's the wrong date. Just like before, what DSQ gate did racer 1 have? So I'll say okay. So now you have times and statuses for all of your racers. So we can go to reports. I can say unofficial reports, unofficial. We'll print a 2-run race so that it shows both runs. And here's your results. So you've got your position and all of your bibs so that you can start doing your awards. Before you export to Alpine Points, you have to do a calculation. So the calculation, what it does is it takes a bunch of the information from the race, whether it's the rate, who started, who finished, and does a calculation to sort of figure out what the factor is for how hard that race was. So we'll say that we want it to be calculated 2-run race, and we don't need to have any of the options changed. I'll say okay. So this is enter the number of the national points list used. So that is the national points list. So we are in this one. So the way it's set up is we do the 2-digit year and then the list ID. So for right now, it will be 2505. So 25 is the season year, and then 05 is the list number. So here's a message just saying, just let the technical delegate know that the points have been changed because they exceed the maximum or minimum of the race type that's being run. So you have the calculation, it shows what the information is, and so these 2 racers have been limited to 500 points. And so it's just something that you would flag with your technical delegate. So now we have the calculation, we have the unofficial results, which you can use for doing your awards. We can go back to reports and we can say official results. So this actually includes the points that each racer has been awarded. So each racer's points, and allows you to see all of the information and who did not start or did not finish first run. So now we have a race that's finished. The last part is you have to upload the race results to Alpine Points. So if we go to output, we say output national points race upload file. We'll say host club. So this is your host club's club code. So I'll just pick Alpine for right now. And then it asks, where do you want to store it? It usually stores all of the files in see measures outputs, but you can put it wherever you want. So I'll put it in the measures folder that I'm working in, and it'll tell you where it's saving it. So, and then the file is always named the codex that we provided in the very first step. So we can say yes. And then there's a couple questions that we need. So what timer was used for the timing? The chief of timing can tell you that, probably like an Algae S4 or a timey or a tag. So this is asking the question about the national points list. So the season year, so 25, and then 05, and then end. So this means it's finished. If there are any issues, it'll show an error, and it'll tell you what the tag is that was the issue. So sometimes it might say gates. So then that would mean you haven't set the number of gates or the number of turns for the race. So now, if I go here, we have a national 24.999. This is your XML file. And if you go to results, upload race results, and then you can sign in and drag and drop and put it in. So that is how you run a race for in measures. Does anyone have any questions? What's your question, Vance? So you can do output to Dtris race file in CSV file format, and what this will allow you to do is create a CSV file. And so let me put this in our folder. And then if I go into here, we should have the CSV, and this will have all of your race information that you would need, that you can use for your for uploading. If you are asking for a CSV for Dtris use, which is our timing software, Dtris can use directly the RCR file, or can you directly use the RCR file as well. Well, it can do both. So if you use the CSV file, if you use the CSV file to upload racers' bibs and names, you have to tell it what column each one is. But if you use an RCR file, it knows everything already, and it allows, you can just get everything automatically. Okay. Perfect. Well, if no one has any other questions, thank you very much for joining, and probably in the next 24 hours, I'll be able to send out a recording of this for everyone. So thank you.